Rechberg Rennen Grosserberg Kreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patreon, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Hello everybody and welcome to the second round of the European Hill Climb Championship Virtual here broadcasted by GTR 24H. It's the second round of our 2021 season and after the Col St Pierre that we tackled just 2 weeks ago, we are now onto the Rechberg in Austria. My name's Ewan O'Leary and I'll be alongside Yusuf bin Zahel for the action here tonight. It's great to be along here once again for some more hill climb. I know that you weren't here unfortunately last week or 2 weeks ago, Yusuf, but no, something different, something that I've certainly never done before. I don't know about you, but no, it's something different, and I very much enjoyed it last week, so I hope that you will as well.
Yeah, Ewan, thank you very much, and glad to be here as well. My first time, as you mentioned, kind of doing hill climbing stuff. It's been weird for me. I've gone from sprint racing to endurance racing, now hill climb. Maybe next there'll be some rallying and maybe even some drag racing in store as well. But I'm interested to see what everyone can bring out here in the hills at Austria.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just go through a little bit about what's happened last time out because, as I mentioned, it's round 2 of our 2021 season. I'll just take a quick look at what happened last week as we get into the kind of qualifying that is going on at the moment. That's a fairly large accident that you've just seen, but no, we'll ignore that for a moment. We've got qualifying going on at the moment, so we'll be able to go into the race before long, and that's another fairly large crash as well. But last 2 weeks ago in the top category, the overall victory went to Ludovic Verroux of France in the number 109 Osella. He was 8 seconds in front of Sébastien Ronat and Mark Best, who was 26 seconds down by the end of the day. Those guys are in the fastest class, and they were the only 3 in that category 2 weeks ago. So they came 1, 2 and 3 last time out. So Farit has got 25 points. Ronat with 18 and Mark Best has got 15 at the moment. In the E1 plus 2000 category that was at 4th on backwards, it was Tobias Bashadorf who took the victory ahead of Agius Andre in 2nd place. George Mallis was in 3rd. Those guys were all separated by really quite small margins in the end, actually, with my favourite car of the day, the Audi S1, came in 4th for that category. That driver Filippo Arguru has got 12 points. It's the normal F1 point system, so you can work out the rest as we go along. Group H, I can't read. Group F. I can't read again. Group H, excuse me, was won by Julien Delage in the end. He stuffed up his second run, unfortunately, so that went a little bit awry for him. But his third run was absolutely brilliant, actually, and he managed to take the victory by 1.2 seconds in the end ahead of Philip Rahm. John Spider, Eric Chatal, Leo Huart was also there as well, very, very close, actually, in that class. The slower cars, they were over a minute down on the overall leaders, but obviously they're in their own class, so they get their own points, etc. Delage with 25, Rob with 18, and so on. And finally, in the E1 2000 class, it was Leonard Bartolini who took the victory for Italy ahead of Javi Rodriguez and David Chachev of Bulgaria. Those guys are covered by about 3.5 seconds in the end. It was very close in that class as well. So, lots of good racing last week on the Corse Ampere. We've gone to Austria this time. It's quite a difficult course, especially at the end. We've even got an artificial chicane right towards the start, so no, it's a very, very difficult course, and obviously the kind of I don't know if I want to say the draw of hill climb, but certainly one of the things that makes hill climb so special is the fact that just looking at this course right now and looking at all of the courses, it's so easy to make a mistake, and these mistakes are very much punished. It's not like road racing sometimes where the areas around the tarmacked completely. It is a sheer drop from time to time here at hill climb.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you're not going to be as used to the particular event that you are at compared to when we do our usual sprint or endurance racing, where we know tracks like Spa like the back of our hands. And yes, while all of the drivers have had plenty of time to get used to their cars and get used to the circuit, it still won't be exactly the same. There will still be that little bit that they're always learning with every single run. And you mentioned that artificial chicane. We'll see how well people are able to take it once the laps do start coming through. At the moment, drivers just seeing the qualifying, a final bit of practice before they get that one and only run.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be a little bit different to how we worked last week as well. If you remember, we had this situation where we obviously these guys get 3 goes at it, and the 2 best last week, 2 weeks ago, counted towards their best score, and those were added up to make it the total time, if you like. That's how it worked last week. However, this week it is a little bit different. We have got 3 runs again, but all of them count this time, so any mistake is going to be punished quite heavily, or at least that's what it said in the rules anyway, so I might be getting this wrong, but I think it's right. You get 3 runs, and then whichever 2 is best wins and you go through with them anymore. It is the best three. You carry them all through, to my knowledge, on this occasion. So that does shake things up a little bit, and it means that you can't make mistakes. I mean, last time, 2 of the 5 class winners in the end actually had one of the runs where they DNF'd because of a crash. Julian Delage on his second run, and Leonard Bartolini crashed on his second run, his first run as well. So you can't afford to make those mistakes this week, and that's going to make things very, very challenging. It probably is going to make these guys tone it back a little bit, because last time you could push quite hard, especially on the final run if you've already got 2 solid ones in, but this time you've got to nail every single one, which just changed things a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that they now have every single run counts means that you can no longer have one run where you give it absolutely everything and risk it all, because you already have 2 currently existing runs, and it might mean that you see people just being a little bit more cautious on all of their runs, whereas in the previous week you might have seen a bit more sliding, some more power slides, and maybe running onto the grass a bit more often. But tonight it's going to be a lot more sensible.
It should be, certainly, and so we'll see if it is at the end of the day. Currently, I can't actually get in the game at the moment, but I can tell you that in qualifying, as things stand, we got Ludovic Ferric currently leading. Sebastian Ronat is only half a second down, that's all right. Seems sensible, really. Seems to form compared to what we saw 2 weeks ago. That all makes sense now, really. It's a little bit closer than what it was last week, I have to say. But Mark Best is there as well. Francois Carati is in 4th place, just ahead of Agius Andre, who's in one of the E2000 cars. So we've got 5 different classes going on here. I guess it is a little bit multi-class, which is what we're quite used to here at GTR, but things are a little bit different this time. It's good to see the different machinery though out there. You can see on your screens right now, Chris Bennett is driving one of these, the fastest car, the E2 kind of cars, it's very, very fast indeed. These cars are absolutely spectacular, and when they're on a full run, especially through the high-speed corners, it is scary to watch, and it just a testament to these drivers who are very, very skillful.
Yeah, and I'm interested for once we do get to that point when the laps do start to come in and we start to see what the kind of banker time, the time to really look out for. Of course, we have quite a few different classes. You've got the E1 2000, E1 2000 Plus, we've got E2, and then the Group H Special. So I guess 4 classes in total, and about 55 entries or so in total this season. And with everyone having 3 runs, that means we've got in excess of about 150 laps tonight.
We have indeed. It's a lot to be watching, and they're going to come pretty thick and fast a little bit later on. We're looking forward to that. We're currently looking at one of the Subarus, Subaru Imprezas. This on my screen anyway. Going through here at the moment. It's a very different course though to what we saw at the Col Saint-Pierre just 1 week ago. Very, very technical was that one. But this course in Austria, as I mentioned, does have that artificial chicane right at the very start. That does kind of slow the cars down a little bit actually going into the first section, because it's very, very fast indeed. And then we get to all the hairpins at the very top here, which does make things kind of technical, but it's very, very different to last time, and the average speed is a little bit higher, hence why we've got 1 minute 45 lap times around this circuit. Up this hill, as opposed to over 2 minutes that we saw on the Col Saint-Pierre. Even though this course is actually 30 meters longer than the course we had 2 weeks ago, so it is certainly a different challenge for these guys, but these guys will be very, very they'll know what they're doing, certainly. We'll see how they get on, but they'll certainly have got their practice in, and they'll be looking to just nail it on the day now.
Yeah, all of our practice comes through, and now we're getting closer and closer to the moment where it all does start to matter. Let's see who does come out on top. You mentioned the Subaru Impreza, actually. We used to play a little old game back when we were doing the Assetto Corsa Competizione sprint series. So is it time to identify if there are any cars that we really like or any that we don't particularly like?
I'll tell you one that I absolutely adore, by the way. I'm hoping that he's on the grid here today. I haven't seen him. I have seen him. I'll try and find him. I'll try and get him on the screens in a few moments' time, because I do have an absolute outstanding favourite on this grid. I might be able to do it now. It might be in the pit lane, just as things stand. Oh no, he's in the queue to go out on a run at the moment. It's the Audi S1, currently in 7th position overall. The 214 driven by Philotheos Arguru of Germany, and it's absolutely fantastic sounding. It will make your ears bleed, but it's brilliant because it's just totally wowed as well. You'll see as it goes through the corners, it is so out of control. It is so noisy, but it is so wonderful as well. Yeah, that's definitely my favourite of the cars on the grid.
I've been watching I think it's the Peugeot 306 Maxi of Leonardo Bartolini going around a few times. Or perhaps it's another Peugeot, but as far as I'm aware, he is the only driver in a Peugeot. Maxime Jabet is also in one, so it's one of those two. And he's been, let's say, seeing the underside of the car a little bit as he's been flipping over the barriers a couple of times in the last few minutes.
Better. Well, maybe it looks better upside down. I don't know, but no, it certainly don't want to be doing that too many times. A lot of cars in the queue right now. By the way, this is qualifying. Just to explain to everybody, there's currently let's have a look. 28 cars on the server, and most of them are either on the course right now or in the queue to get out on the course. So it's quite busy. But this is qualifying, and the first guy in qualifying, it sets the road order for the actual hill climb itself when we get into it. So Farouk at the moment is going to go off first with going all the way down to the bottom. I see Lagomenta is going to go out last as things stand, although he is on a lap right now. So we'll see where it jumps up him up to, though, as we're currently seeing a replay. Just a bit of a slide out of the corner. It's actually a hit on the wall there, coming out of one of the hairpins for Francois Corratti, but he's back going again. Didn't participate in the event 2 weeks ago, by the way, did the Swiss driver, but he's on the grid for this one, and we'll see how he goes this weekend. It's always a little bit difficult getting in a little bit late, but you'll be sure he's trying to pick up as many points as he can throughout this 12-round championship, and we'll see what kind of battles can develop in these championships, because you can be sure that they will do as we go on with the season.
So currently we are seeing Ludovic Ferri at the top of the standings, just like we did last week. Current best of 45.617, nearly a second quicker actually than Sebastian Ronat in the number 14 car. So actually, pardon me, it's a 45.6 from Ludovic Ferri. So he's only a measly half a second ahead of Sebastian Ronat. And Sebastian Ronat in the Osella FA30 in the E2 class.
He is indeed. That Osella has won here 8 times on the Rechberg, by the way, in real life. The last event here was in the European Hill Climb Championship in 2019. The 2020 event wasn't held for obvious reasons, so that was unfortunate, but hopefully it will return for 2021. We've also had 2 wins for the Norma M20, which has won a couple of times, I think 2014 and 15, or around that time anyway, so that has won a couple of times. It's been a European Hill Climb event since 1982, by the way, nearly 40 years on the calendar as a European Hill Climb event, so a very, very prestigious course. It's been on here for a very long time, and I'm afraid our Audi kind of showcase that we were hoping to see there has been a little bit short-lived because he's just gone off the road. That's a bit unfortunate, but it happens. The number 160, another one of these Normas. Francois Corratti is coming up towards the line right now. We've got 2 Osellas and 2 Normas up in the E2 category first of all in this race here today. Agios Andre and Tobias Baschendorf did very well last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me. They're both here. for the E1 plus 2000 category. In the E1 2000 category with no plus, we've got Javi Rodriguez and Leonardo Bartolini and David Tachev. They're all here and doing well at the moment, or at least they're up there, and they'll be competing in that category. And in the Group H category, we do have some of the regulars as well, like Philippe Rahm currently leading, Julien Delage and John Spider's in there as well as the number 33 of Vincent Tukula in there as well, 16th overall right now as well. So all of these classes are going to be fiercely competed, excuse me. And what I'm really encouraged by here is the fact that, you know, these guys are a lot, especially in the E2 category, the top class here, they're a lot closer than we saw 2 weeks ago. You see the results from last time. Ferrari is 8 seconds in front of Sebastian Ronat after 2 runs. And after 3 runs today, yeah, I'm expecting things to be a lot closer, judging by the time they qualify.
Well, that first run was only half a second between the pair of them, and I'm currently looking at Ludovic Ferrui's second run. First sector, only 2/10 slower, and his middle sector 3/10 quicker. So for Ludovic Ferrui, showing a lot of consistency, and we'll see what his second time is looking like compared to that 45.6 that he did on his first run, and we'll also see whether Sebastian Ronat can improve as well. But apart from Ferrui and Ronat, you know, there's a 6 second gap really to the Norma behind of Mark Best, and you know, the Norma is also in that E2 class, so maybe it's just the Norma just not as quick as the Osella.
It could be that that is the case. On paper, the Osella is definitely quick. It's got 475 horsepower compared to the Norma's 460, despite the fact they both have the same Zytec 3-litre V8 engine. The Norma also has a little bit less torque at only 385 compared to the 393 of the Osella, and the Osella is lighter by 50 kilograms as well. So it's like having a small passenger in the side removed out of the car. So yeah, it is a fair amount lighter as well, which is surprising, because I've got them both on my screen right now. I've got the number 14 Osella of Sebastian Ronat, and right behind him is it's Francois Corratti on my screen. Anyway, they're lining up, and to be honest, the Norma looks a lot smaller. You'd expect it to be actually lighter, but clearly the Osella has got some very light body parts or something, because yeah, it is apparently lighter, despite the fact it is wider, and it just looks heavier to me anyway. And the Norma looks quite very small and light, but apparently it is heavier than the Osella by 50 kilograms.
And weight does make a difference. I know my dad never stops telling me about how when he has a passenger in his VX220, which only weighs about 800 kilos, but you add in another passenger, another 70 kilos in, and you can really start to feel, you know, the amount of a difference. I sadly have never felt it, because I'm always the passenger and it's a 2-seater car, but the word is, you definitely feel the fact that it's slower, and it does affect the amount of pickup you have. So, well, we'll see how much it does affect in this kind of a Norma Osella battle, but we wouldn't expect it to be 5.5 seconds worth. So we'll see whether Mark Best can close that gap down.
We will indeed. And yeah, of course, we've got still a fair amount to wait until we get into the real runs here. 30 drivers now are connected onto the server, which is certainly a good thing. Can't expect all 30 to get to the end of the hill climb event though, because if you DNF one run, then you've DNF the event, I'm afraid. All 3 count on this occasion. So I'll just recheck that rule, by the way, just in case I am wrong. But I think I'm still right. But you never know. So I will recheck that rule just one more time, just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure it says that in round 2, all of the runs count towards your overall time, as at the moment Antoine Corratti sets off on another practice run. We're on board with him at the moment in the Norma, going through the first chicane and then up the hill. As you might be able to imagine, these guys gained 268 metres in one hill climb here to reach the finish, which is situated at 330 No, 938 metres above sea level. I can read numbers. Yeah, nearly 1,000 metres above sea level, right at the very top here. Just over 5 kilometres, about 5,082 metres of hill climb in this region. So it's a very similar length to what we saw 2 weeks ago in the European Hill Climb Championship. But you can see what I mean by this very fast opening section as we go on board with Karachi at the moment. But then you reach the hairpins. Here's the first of them, just to the right after a little flick to the left, and there are a couple of hairpins like that where it flicks one way, and then you've got to really jam on the steering lock here to get around the corner, because it out across very, very quickly indeed, and there's some hairpins in quick succession as well. A little chicane before this one, and they're quite open, these hairpins. It's not really tight hairpins like you might see on the Col de Turini if you're a WRC fan, maybe. You know, they're fairly open hairpins, but no less difficult to judge, certainly, because you can't really see around many of these corners, which does make it a little bit scary and a little bit tricky as well.
Yeah, when you go into blind hairpin, it can become scary, especially as there could be someone ahead who's also had an incident, and sometimes you don't really get too much of a heads-up notice. Although that being said, I doubt drivers will be too worried about that, especially when you get to the main event. There's a lot of time between two cars setting off, and usually you will get some form of advance notice if there is someone off in a section ahead of you. So you can just focus on the track and just give it your absolute all.
But indeed, and we're just about 5 minutes away from getting the event actually underway here. Qualifying is about to be completed here on the Rechberg, so we're going to take a quick commercial break now. When we return, the first runs of this hill climb will get underway. You're watching the European Hill Climb Championship Round 2 here from Austria, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
The Rechberg Rennen Grosser Bergkreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon-neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Flit. A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the second round of the European Hill Climb Championship for 2021. We're on the Rechberg here today in eastern Austria, just 40 kilometres south of the city of Graz, for a 5-kilometre hill climb here where we'll finish at nearly 1,000 metres high up in the Austrian mountains. My name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside Yusuf bin Sahel for the action here tonight, which is about to get underway because we've just had the server reset from what I believe anyway. No, we haven't. We're about to, though, because qualifying is just finished now as I speak, and yeah, we'll transition into the actual heat. Just to explain to everybody, in case you weren't with us last time out, what is actually going to happen. So the grid order has just been set by a 2-hour qualifying session where these guys can go out as many or as little times as they actually want to. Currently on the server we have 32 drivers and 29 of them have set a time here on this course. So that means the order has been set by these guys. It's going to be Ludovic Farut, followed by Sebastian Ronat, Mark Best, Francois Karati, and then so on and so forth. Yeah, those watch out for those guys getting on straight away with this one. And yeah, we'll be beginning soon, because the order is just being set right now. Farut will be led out onto the circuit and we will finally get underway for this one. These guys will have 3 heats, 3 attempts to go up the course, and then that will be the end of it. Yeah, you've got to basically in this one, because all 3 times count, the combined time from all 3 of them will go forwards towards the overall time. So you cannot afford any mistakes on this one, as opposed to last time out where there was a chance for you to mess up, I guess. There is no chance for you to do that on this occasion because all 3 of them count. So I expect to see some caution exercised throughout this race. Let's take a look at the weather on the Rechberg here today. Is there going to be any rain? And there's your answer. It's in the air, but it's not going to come, and that's going to come as a blessed relief to everybody.
I think everyone will be slightly glad that rain doesn't come down. I mean, when rain starts to come down, you get these interesting scenarios where some drivers have to do, 2 runs in the rain and another driver only has to do 1, and it can all throw things, well, badly. So, I mean, at least for me as a spectator, as a commentator, and I'm sure for all of the drivers as well, I much rather see everything in the dry and everyone on the exact same playing field. And you also mentioned as well how every single lap counts. No mistakes. If you make that one mistake that costs you 5 or so seconds, that could be your entire kind of hill climb event over.
Yeah, it could indeed, especially in terms of getting a good result, and that's going to be a lot of points down the drain. Just to remind you as well, as the E2 category is going to get underway very shortly, Farut is going to be first, followed by Ronat, then Best, then Karati. There's 4 drivers on the E2 category list here today, or at least of the ones who are attending. It was Farut who came out victorious last time out, ahead of Sebastian Ronat, who was second by 8 seconds in the end, and then further back was Mark Best, 26 seconds down on Farut. But from what we've seen so far in the qualifying session, it looks like Farut is going to be much more closely challenged in this particular event.
Yeah, the E2 SE, the SS3000 Zytec KV F3000 V8s, 3-litre engines. bringing up about 460 to 475 brake horsepower, depending if you're in the Norma or a Acela. And I guess to those who aren't familiar with hill climbing like myself, when you see it, you'll think it's the LMP2 cars, but not quite.
It's kind of a small prototype, isn't it, really? Or aren't they? They both are kind of, but no, they are hill climb cars, and they have got a lot of downforce. There is also another category, by the way. There are 5 categories in this one. Of course, with the kind of formula-looking car of Chris Bennett, the Tatus Master number 9 car, the least powerful in both horsepower and torque, but it is the lightest at 560 kilograms. It's driven by Chris Bennett in this series. Obviously, he won the last event. He's the only guy driving in that category. But you compare him against the E1 plus 2000 cars, then you do get a representative time from him. He would have placed 4th in the last event if he was thrown in with those guys. At the moment, he would have been in what is 7th place, so there's a couple of competitive guys getting up there at the moment. The top 2 in the last round are also the top 2 in the road order right now. Bashardorf and Andre came 1 and 2 last time. It was George Mallis who was 3rd, but he will be going 6th of those guys who are in the E1 plus 2000 category. Our favourite or my favourite anyway, in the Audi, Philippos Argiru will be going off in 3rd position, just ahead of Valeas, and Angela Poulos, in the 5th position. He didn't score many points last time out, so he'll be looking to score a few more this time around. The grid order is just being set, by the way. That's what the hold-up is about at the moment. This hold-up won't last as long on either of the next times, because we'll already know what the order is, and it will be a lot easier to set once we've already gone through with a couple of these. So we'll be through them a lot quicker after this, but that's what the hold-up is for the moment. We've got 31 drivers out there on the server at the moment, and they're going to be going up the hill climb very, very shortly. It's going to be the E2 category, followed by the E1 plus 2000 class, then the Group H class cars, and then right the way down to 19th in the road order, it is going to be the E1 2000 cars with no plus, but no minus either. But those guys, kind of touring cars, going a little bit further down. It was but Bartolini, who took victory on the last time, but he's going to be going off 2nd in that class on this occasion, following Javi Rodriguez, who's going to be 1st, ahead of David Chashev as well, who's in the Volkswagen Corrado in that class as well. So I'll tell you what I do like about this class most of all, is we're getting into all this hill climb, and most of all is the fact that we've got so many different looking cars out there. You've got these Normas and Ocellas right at the front, all the way down to the very, very small Group H cars driven by the likes of Julien Delage. A little bit later on, the Renault 8 Gordini, extremely small and much less powerful than some of the other cars, but it's on the same grid as an Ocella and a Norma, and that makes it really great to look at, great to watch.
I've just seen John Papas making his way out of the pits and now driving on the grass, so that's leaving me a bit curious, because from what I'm seeing, there's a perfectly good piece of tarmac. Oh no, watch out! Oh, he almost drives over one of the spectators. That wouldn't have ended well, would it?
No, it's the race director, by the way, getting into position for doing his job, basically. That's what he's doing at the moment. So don't be confused. Yeah, don't be confused by that one. He is in position now, though, and maybe soon we'll be able to get back on the road at the moment. But for the moment, we're still just waiting for these guys to get their first runs underway of the day here at the moment. So currently looking at. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I just saw Francois Carati's car, the Norma M20 FC, and he's sporting a very nice old, an 80s Lotus theme, the car the livery that's iconic, back with Ayrton Senna's Lotus, back in the old days.
We'll have to get a good look at that when it goes off. It'll be 4th in the road order here today. Ferrari has got on to the start, though, and to honour the first run here on the Rechberg. Me and Yusuf are going to stay quiet for a moment, and we're going to listen to this Acela go up the Rechberg course. So for the next 2 minutes, you can enjoy the sights and sounds of this beautiful car. Here we go. there is the finish line for Ludovic. He's on to this hill climb is basically underway. It's a 46.6 for him on that occasion, but we were saying at the start of the day about how these guys are going to take it a bit easy because all three of them count here today, but that wasn't taking it easy at all. That was absolutely violent from Furry. Great driving from him.
And you could also tell it as well, I think it was towards the end of Sector 1, a couple of the corners where it just seemed to be really bumpy and unsettling the rear of the car, making the rear end stepping out so aggressively, which is what made it look like Ludovic Ferrari was right on the very edge of grip. And to be honest, I think he was on the edge of grip. Sebastian Ronat completes his first lap, and he's only 2 tenths shy of Ferrari.
He is indeed. It's a 46.8 from him so far, so 2 tenths lost in the first run from Sebastian Ronat, as the Norma of Mark Best is still not on the course right now, which is a little bit concerning. I think he's already been on there, and I think he's been off at some point.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw him going fast a little bit earlier on, but he's back in the pit lane, which is a real shame because all three of them count, and I don't think he's going to actually be able to... I think if he finishes and completes the last 2 runs, then he will get a point for finishing the event, but he's not going to score any place positions, I don't think. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are on that one, but I think he's been off the course and I think he's crashed.
I think if everyone has essentially a lap where they crash, then I guess the other 2 laps that they do get used as a tiebreaker to order them in some way. We'll have to see. Either way, hopefully we get to see Mark Best back out on a track on the hill at some point this evening in the Norma. Francois Carati on his lap, and there you can see the bumps heading down into this left hairpin. There are so many undulations, and under braking it can make it so tricky to really apply the brake hard and smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very difficult indeed. And this course is a lot more, well, I say a lot more bumpy than the Col Saint-Pierre, but I was here last 2 weeks ago, and I was surprised by how bumpy it was then. Yeah, it's just a bit bumpy everywhere, really, isn't it? Even Austria, which are supposed to be very, very smooth roads, but coming up towards the top now with Francois Carati, because you can see the hairpins, and he'll be taking that sharp left-hand turn onto a very small, narrow road in a few moments' time, here it is. You go around that tyre veil on the right left-hand side and avoid everything on the right as well, and Free will get towards the top. And what's the time is set for him here today? It's a 57.3, so a little bit slower.
A tad slower for Francois, 11 seconds down pretty much on what Ludovic Ferrari was able to do. Meanwhile, Tobias Bergstoff and Agios Andre are on their laps in the Lancer Evos. Those are the Mitsubishis, as Agios gets very sideways with the rear end and kind of dinks his front right into that little canal, or I don't know what you'd call it, soak away, but either way, it won't be ditch. I'm in Norfolk, we have a lot of ditches. Doesn't resemble a ditch. I mean, it's almost like an exposed drain, isn't it?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Certainly, it's a bit of an obstacle, I guess. Or could use it to your advantage as well, if you want to. Here is the first runner though from the E1 plus 2000 category. Tobias Bashador goes towards the line right now. What's the time going to be? It's a 2:06.4. Don't be discouraged by the fact that he's 20 seconds off of the time set by Free, because look how different these cars are. This is a Mitsubishi Evo 4, currently being driven by Agios Andre. We can see it there on your screens, and yeah, this is a 2-litre turbocharged engine, over 600 horsepower. These guys actually have more horsepower than the guys in the top category, but obviously these cars are very, very much different and a little bit slower as well. Not that they're any less impressive though.
Yeah, and one of the other things I've been noticing when riding on board with the Lancers, and as you mentioned, I think a little bit earlier, almost like the touring cars, is you'll notice that they're a lot more stable than what we saw from the prototypes in specific corners, and that's because the prototypes tend to have a little bit harder suspension, and just riding on board with Goodyear through the corner where we kind of looked at the prototypes and thinking that, you know, the car was going to fly off the road, and while it wasn't exactly smooth, it was far less bumpy for the Audi Quattro, and it's just because there's a slightly softer suspension on these touring cars.
Yeah, there is indeed. It is a little bit more manageable, but just look at this car right now and have a listen to it as well. Just if you can hear it over us talking. But it's absolutely fantastic. Certainly my favourite of the grid here. Currently being driven by Philotheos Arguri of Germany, and he put in a decent performance 2 weeks ago to come fourth in this class, which was 7th overall, so a very respectable result from it. Might actually been 8th overall, but still, it was a top 10 overall, and it was a top performance from him as well. Here he comes towards the line right now. What's the time going to be for him? We'll see. 2 minute 10.3. I would argue that's a little bit of a slower run than what we saw in qualifying from him, but yeah. It doesn't matter how fast it goes, it will still be my favourite car on the grid. As that's a big wiggle coming up towards the final few corners for the number 1, 2, 3 of Angelo Poulos.
Oh, he really had a moment. He somehow somewhat caught it, but Angelo Poulos not having the best of drives. I believe he is Greek. Yes, he is, with a name like Angelo Poulos. I guess we should be glad there aren't more syllables in it for us, otherwise we would be almost certainly botching up the name more than we currently are. But for Philotheos, 4 seconds down on Tobias and Agios, so he's going to be hoping for some better runs in his next 2 laps. But let's see what the Greek of Chales can pull off.
Yeah, absolutely. He's coming up towards the top right now. Another hairpin to the right. There'll be one more to the left, and then they will be, or he will be, going towards the final left-hander and the very narrow road. You can see this is quite a large road considering it's going up a mountain. It's quite a large road to be going up, but it gets quite narrow towards the end, and it's all about power at the very end. A little chicane before another right-hander, and there's actually more hairpins to go in this run than I thought there was. A little bit of a bigger gap back to Angelo Poulos before he went, because it was actually Valais who went through there with an 11.7. He was next on the road, and we were looking at a car a little bit further down than I had imagined, but this is still E1 plus 2000 cars, by the way, still out there on the course, and so yeah, these guys are going to do their best. It's still Agios Andre leading though by just 600ths of a second. Nothing separating these guys at the very front of this class going into the next run. Certainly, I think even a bit of a handbrake for the left-hander there, especially in these four-wheel drive cars that you can get away with a bit of handbrake action, but goes over the line right now, and Angelo Poulos does a very respectable time indeed. Jumps up to 3 places better than what he did in qualifying, which is very respectable indeed.
Good stuff from Angelo Poulos. One driver that I am interested on seeing once we do get to that stage is I just jump on board with Chris Bennett in the Tatus Master, and he is the first of his class to make his way out. But one of the drivers I do want to keep an eye out for is Leonardo Bartolini in the 138 Peugeot 306 Maxi, because I was riding on board with him a lot in qualifying, and he was having some serious excursions to the grass, and not just the grass, he was, somersaulting over barriers quite frequently. So hopefully he's got all of his somersaults out of the way in qualifying, and he can keep it nice and tidy on track for the laps that matter.
He would have hoped he got all his somersaults out the way in the gymnastics arena, to be honest, but he's not, clearly. It's all a bit of a joke. Of course, hopefully he'll be able to have a good run, because he did put in a fantastic performance to win last time out on the Col Saint-Pierre in France, so maybe he can do the same here in Austria. But this is the first of the E1 plus 2, not the E1 plus 2000 cars, they've already gone. But this Tatus is the only car in its class. Chris Bennett not really driving against himself, driving for an overall position, and he's very comparable to some of these guys in the E1 plus 2000 class, and he's currently set at 2 minute 13. Very impressive to see a Formula car on this type of course. You really wouldn't expect it to be suited at all, but clearly he's not done a very bad job there at all with that.
Well, we talk about those bumps and how much it affected the prototype cars, and you'd consider that an open wheel car, if it got over the bumps a little bit badly, maybe the entire suspension on the car could break.
Yeah, indeed. You never know. Really, a very good time there by who was that jumping up the order? I think it was Gavalas maybe into third place in this category at the moment, although he's a good 3 seconds down on Andre and Bashadorf at the moment, so a very, very good time from him indeed. But now we're on to one of the fours. I believe this is an Escort Cosworth, maybe, the 32. Yeah, Alex Schumer in this one. George Mallis is driving an Escort Cosworth in the same car, but he's 9th overall at the moment and 5th in his classes. Over the line it comes Schumer, and he is going to be 12th overall, so maybe not the car of choice as we go into Group H with Philip Raab, who's now out on the course.
Yeah, Philip Raab down into this really tight left-hander, and I don't know if I'm happy or sad, Ewan, that I haven't seen anyone really handbrake turning, flinging it around these hairpins, because I mean, when you do have these low-speed corners, that is usually the fastest way to get round them.
Yeah, well, I have seen a couple of handbrakes being used, but not too many. You're right. It's been a little bit of a rarity so far. Good time there from Philip Raab, though. He gets himself into 12th position overall. Is that a Group H car? I'm pretty sure it is, but it's hard to tell what it is at the moment. But anyway, the number 33 currently a bit of a slide out of that corner. Currently being driven by Vincent Tuculat. Julien Delage, by the way, has just got a 10th quicker than Philippe Raab there, battling together for a position. Delage beat out Raab on the last occasion by a very, very small margin indeed, with a fantastic final run, but this time he's not quite been able to win it out. Vincent Tuculat is pushing very, very hard though in the Opel GTE Psycho. It's probably my second favourite car after the Audi. It's very, very good indeed, over 400 horsepower, but over 1,000 kilograms. It is quite heavy, but he goes to the front of Group H there. A fantastic time from him, and extra points for spectacularness as well from him.
Yeah, great laps coming through, and I think we're about halfway through the first runs now, as Marcus Blassel making his way towards the end of Sector 1. He's got John Spider not too far ahead of him in the Fiat X19. Marcus Blassel himself, though, in the Opel Kadett. And more of these Group H times starting to come through.
They are indeed. Let's see what Blassel can do. John Spider should have been. I thought he was. Oh yeah, he's in front of him. Sorry, John Spider is. So we'll see what time he can do, and then we'll be on to Blassel. Philip Gardner as well is also in a Group H car, so we'll be seeing what he does as well. But yeah, lots of different cars in this category, which is my favourite, I have to say. The Group H cars look like a lot of fun, because the E2 cars right at the front look downright scary, but these do look like a lot of fun to drive.
It's kind of reversed way round. Was it Group H? No, the old Group B rally cars, the ones that ended up, or the series that ended up getting discontinued because they were just too darn quick and a little bit unsafe back when, you know, all of those tragic deaths were occurring in rallying. But I do have to agree with you and these Group H cars look very quick, and well, I guess for some of our older viewers, maybe a throwback to the past Ford Escort, maybe quite a few people's first cars back a good 30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite possibly a bit of a throwback for some people. Not me though, because I wasn't alive. And neither were you, I'd imagine, even though you are very old. Just older than me. It's not really. He's pulling the face. You can't see it at home, but never mind.
I'm 1 year older than you, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I know. Marcus Blassel is coming over the line right now. 18.3 from him in the number 65 car, so that's not bad at all. Not too far behind the best runners for him. But Philip Gardner is going to be the final man, well, not the final man in Group H to come across the line, but he is going to be one of the last before we get into the E1 2000 cars with no plus, with Javi Rodriguez, who is into the course right now as well. So yeah, a couple of these guys are getting going, but yeah, we've had nearly all of the classes on show already, and yeah, you do get through these fairly quickly. I think it's a bit of a shorter course than the Col Saint-Pierre, this one, and it does make things a little bit shorter than what we saw 2 weeks ago. But Gardner comes over the line right now. Where's he going to go in the overall standing? He moves up to 17th position, I guess in a bit of a battle with Blassel because they're in the same car, but he gets up nearly 3 seconds quicker actually, so a good performance from him.
And Rodriguez now out on circuit in the Honda Civic Type R, and then after that we get to go over to Bartolini and we see whether Bartolini has any incidents on track with or in a similar way to what I was seeing during qualifying. For Javi Rodriguez, that first sector, a 42.4, second sector, a 49.2. So I have a feeling Javi Rodriguez might be finding himself right in the middle of some of the Group H drivers.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what the time is at the end. He's coming towards the final hairpin now, not the final corner, but it is the final hairpin, I think, anyway, if we are where I think we are. No, we're not quite, because there's another one here, and there it is, as it opens out just a little bit right at the top of this mountain, and they come towards the final left-hander, which is greeted by a small shed, I can see, there you can see. But there we go, there's some handbrake action for you. Front-wheel drive car, I'd imagine, which is probably why he's had to use the handbrake there.
It definitely does help, and helps him get around the final corners. Now Bartolini, and right as I switch to Bartolini, he's drifting around the course like an absolute madman.
That's brilliant to see from him. I do like Bartolini's style of driving. It's just completely all out and nothing left on the table in his Peugeot 306 Maxi, which also looks pretty fantastic. Maxime Jabat is also one of the drivers for, I don't know if he's on the server right now. I think we did see him a little bit earlier on. But yes, a fantastic driver as Bartolini was able to take victory on the Col Saint-Pierre 2 weeks ago, and a good performance from him, especially after he got into the wall in his very first run. Well, not into the wall, but certainly down the ravine, and you couldn't continue the run anymore, so thankfully he was able to fish his car out and continue with the other two and set some good times, but he can't afford those kind of mistakes this time around. No such mistakes being made though, so it's a good clean run from him so far.
Just got an image in my head now, you, and it was just some country guy at a lake trying to fish, and then I got another one, and he like wheels it up and a car pops out. But yeah, I don't think that's.
You've got some ridiculous ideas in your head, you have.
I mean, you said fishing a car out, and that's what came to my head. Either way, Bartolini puts in a 2:18.1, and he finds himself 1 second shy of David Tashev.
He is indeed, so 1.5 seconds down on Rodriguez, and exactly 1 second down on Tashev. Well, not exactly, but near enough to exactly as we can get. Yeah, the top 23 runners now have been out on the course. We still have a fair amount to go, still have 9 to go, including Leo Hort, actually, who I'm looking forward to seeing in the Group H category. But let's go, it's just a driver, I think it is a driver, coming up towards the starting ramp right now. It's not a starting ramp, is it? It's the start area in the Mitsubishi Evo 4 at the moment, in the number 277 Mitsubishi. So we'll see now what this run has to offer us. We're going to go on board, and me and Yusuf are going to go quiet for a moment so you can enjoy the sounds of this Mitsubishi Evo 4. over the line for Frank Dupin at the moment, and it is 24th overall for him after that run in the Mitsubishi. Hope you all enjoyed that lap at home as we go to look at one of the Volkswagen Corrados here, the 210, done by Nick Coxsekidis. Maybe I'll pronounce that name, but yeah, there we go. I can't do it. Meanwhile, though, because we've had another half an hour of action, and the top runners from all of these classes have now completed their runs, we're going to take a commercial break right now, and hopefully we'll be back for the back end of run one, but definitely back for the start of the second run. You're watching the European Hill Climb Championship from the Rechberg in Austria, and we'll be back in a few moments' time.
The Rechberg Rennen Grosser Bergkreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back to the second round of the European Hill Climb Championship here in 2021. We're on the Rechberg here today in eastern Austria. The final couple of runs are coming across the line right now. We've got Leo Huart on the course right now, and he's the final man to complete here today. Group H special car, and we'll see where he's going to get up to, because currently leading that class, it is Julien Delage. No, sorry, it's not Julien Delage, I believe it's Vincent Tukula leading as things stand. Over the line comes Huart. And where's he got up to here at the... I can't quite see him. 24th.
2:19.0.
Yeah. There we go, thank you. 24th overall, about 8 seconds down on where Tukula was last time out, in his first run, so a little bit surprised to see that actually from him, because Huart came 5th last time out, but a little bit of a poor run this time around. But we reset right now. We'll be into run 2. We'll see maybe if anybody's going to open the taps a little bit more on this occasion. But to be fair, we saw some pretty open and aggressive driving last time out as well from in the first runs for these guys. So what more can we expect at this point? It was quite scary to watch sometimes for some of these guys out there, but yeah, second run's coming up now, and we'll see if anybody does wildly better than before, if everybody's going to stay roughly where they are, or people getting familiar with the course and everything like that. So a lot of intrigue that comes with the second round of the second runs for these guys.
And this is when we start to get down to crunch time as well. We can start to see whether drivers are consistent enough, or whether they just have that one lap wonder that we may have previously seen. But for now, Ludovic Ferrui will be wanting to keep his little Cella FA30 on the top step of the hill climb timings.
You will indeed. Let's see if I can find Ferrui again here. We got some highlights up on the board, by the way, at the moment from that first run. Unfortunately, Mark Best has retired from the hill climb at the moment, because he has crashed on his first run. So we're down to 3 E2 cars, and Mark Best is not one of them, I believe, out here at the moment. So we are down a car from what we had at the start of the day. So from the 33 that started, we now have 32 out there with the first one of them. He was only 2 tenths in front of Sebastian Ronat, though, at his first run. So expect to see a fantastic fight between those two in this actual round here. If Ronald wants to make a run at this championship here this year, then he's going to need to start beating Ferrui, and this is a good place to start doing it, really, if he's able to take the victory on this occasion.
Let's see if he can secure victory. Still a while to go, and once these second runs come through, we can start to get an idea of what the average time is, and then we can start to work out what kind of lap time is needed by each driver if they want to end up at the top of their class, which we will do our very best to try to stay on top of. But I can already tell now, I have a feeling that I am going to struggle a little bit to work out exactly what times are needed by each drivers.
Well, I've written down the first times by the main drivers in each of the classes, so hopefully I'll be able to stay on top of things as I kind of managed to do last time, and I did get the winners of each class eventually, we'll confirm those to you at the end of the day, hopefully. Here is Ludovic Ferrui, though, on the start list and on the start house kind of thing, under the banner, whatever it is. He's off and he's underway now, and the thing that strikes me as he goes through this first few laps is that chicane there. You barely even see it as a spectator looking through here. It is so fast the way those guys just nip their way through there. It's really quite scary, but you can tell that they've done it lots of times before.
Honestly, riding on board with Ludovic Ferrui through that opening sequence of corners is absolutely incredible. I get the same kind of vibes as to when you go on YouTube and you watch those biker goes 150 through country road or something. I'm getting that kind of vibe from Ludovic Ferrui. The corners are just absolutely flying past, and how he's managing this, I don't know, but it seems absolutely incredible from this onboard view.
It is indeed, especially from the nose cam and the cockpit, well, from all of them actually. It is very, very scary indeed. Now he's into the first real corner of it. It's just sweepers from that point, but yeah, just getting into that kind of drain ditch thing you were talking about on the outside there. You definitely don't want to be getting yourself into those, really. Oh, and a little bit of a spin for Farouk. Oh dear. And can he get out? Can he get out of there? Is he stuck in there? Oh dear. The leader of the hill climb. He's stuck in a hedge at the moment. Oh my goodness. Can he get out?
It's over.
It looks like he's stuck. Oh dear. Farouk's stuck at the moment.
He's right in the middle of a hedge. He lost the rear end and he's trying desperately to get it out, but he can't. Oh, well, here comes Sebastian Runner, and is he going to see Farouk's stricken car? Yeah, he can. Oh, he might have had a little smile as he passed. He can only see the rear end of Farouk's car, but there you go.
Oh, he's got free. He's got free. Has he got free? Yes, he is.
Yes.
Farouk is free. Farouk is free. He's going to lose a heck of an amount of time, though. At least he's still in the hill climb. That is what you can say, but he is way, way down right now. The times are added together in this one, so he is going to lose an awful lot of time. Sebastian Renat is going to come across the line, hitting a bit. Oh, and he's sliding it into these corners as well. Maybe, I don't know why, maybe out of frustration or what he's doing at the moment.
Pushing.
Sebastian... Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. He is pushing, because if he, at least he can't win the hill climb at this point, he might be able to recatch Karate, excuse me, in this one. Sebastian Renat comes over the line. It's a 57.6 from him this time. He's 8 tenths down on what he did last time. Farouk over the line. It's a 2-minute 33.5. That is, ouch. That's a hefty amount of time lost.
47 seconds lost in the middle sector. 47 seconds he was stuck in a hedge for. Well,
ouch.
To all of our viewers, I think your day might be going better than Ludovic Ferruiz at the very least.
Oh dear, oh dear. He can console himself with the best time so far, but it doesn't count for much when you've done a 2-minute 33.5. He's lost roughly 45 seconds in the second run. Here is Karateri. In Karate. Why do I keep doing that? Karate.
Let's see where this time is, because this is actually quite important. A 1:55. Okay, so he's 40 seconds down on Ferrui. Okay, so if Ludovic gained 10 seconds in the first one, he needs to gain about 25 in the next one over Karate if he wants to be able to finish ahead of him.
He lost 37 and a half seconds in that last run, and he gained, as you say there, 10 and a half in that one. So he's going to need to gain a good 20 seconds. You're right. That's even though he is an incredible driver, we saw him take the win on the. He does need a mistake. Yeah, you're right. He does. But we've seen how easy they are to come across. You know, it's a very, very difficult course, and that's just been shown to us by Farouk. Bashadov just comes over the line, by the way, for the E1 Plus 2000 team. Excuse me, a little bit into the wall there from the current leader, Agius Andre. He's leading by 1/10 of a second at the moment, and he can't afford mistakes like that.
I'm just going to say he is going to be thanking Studio 397 for creating tyre barriers that you can drive through, because if those were actual tyre barriers, his car would be toast.
Very close moment. Into the final corner comes Agius Andre. And what's the time going to be? It's a 2 minutes 6.3 from Tobias Bashadorf in that one, which is 1/10 better than he managed last time. What's the time going to be for Agius Andre as he comes over the line right now? It's a 5.9. That's a fantastic time from him. He's a good 4/10 better off. So overall in this hill climb, he's now half a second in the lead of the E1 Plus 2000 category.
Yeah, now next up is Philofios Gudio. He's making his way towards the end of Sector 2. And this is where we've seen a couple of drivers really lose their rear end as they try to slide it through this left-hander. All nice and tidy from Philofios. As now we're going to continue making our way up the hill into what I'm now going to call the Ludovic hairpin.
Yeah, we could call it that into the final hairpin of the course. It was a little bit scruffy though, wasn't it? We saw a little bit earlier on. He got into that ditch on the left-hand side as well, and you don't really want to be going into these ditches, especially in those E2 cars. You really do want to be staying out of them. Sometimes, if you know familiar with rallying or so on, you can actually use ditches on the side of the road to hook the car into these corners. But even if that was the case, you wouldn't want to be doing it in those prototypes because you really can't. They really can't take it. They haven't got the ground clearance and the suspension for that.
Yeah, and it's what we were talking about before as well. The fact that some of these cars, especially the prototypes in the E2 class, they don't want to be going over bumps. They feel the effects so much more than the Group H or the E1 2000 cars, which are more like your general kind of road cars. But for Philotheos, 209.1, nearly 3 seconds down on Tobias.
1.2 seconds better off than last time, let's not forget. So not a bad time in that respect. However, yeah, you're right, losing it still a little bit of time. So Angelopoulos now is on the course. He lost 3.7 seconds to Andre on that last lap, on the first run, excuse me. So he's going to be looking to make up a bit of time. As, yeah, he's flying through this section at the moment, trying to stay on as George Malice is coming up towards the start. He's in the latter portion of this course at the moment, actually, is George Malice. Valleas is coming over the line right now as well. 16.1 from him. Now that's a good 5 seconds down on where he was, so you can expect he's made a mistake out there somewhere.
And Andreas won't be too pleased with that lap. His fellow Lancers are, well, 10 seconds up the road, so definitely a mistake somewhere from Andreas Valles. Meanwhile, George Malice making his way into the final hairpin, and now slow it right down into first gear, sometimes a bit on the handbrake, and I think that might have been that back end swinging out. Looked like he might have just tapped on the handbrake momentarily across the line from Malice. And it's good, it's a 2:08.6.
Yeah, that's a decent time from the Ford Escort Cosworth 2.2 Cosworth engine. He does a bit of a donut to celebrate as well. Clearly very pleased with how that lap time went. And another one of these Cosworths, I believe, is out there on the course right now. Is that another one? Yeah, I was just looking at a Subaru, a bit wrong. Wow, that's a slide and a half, isn't it? What a drift. Wow, he's kept it on the road as well in the 274 car. What a fantastic bit of driving that was from Haris Gavalas at the moment. Fantastic driving though from him. You see that drift around the hairpin. I'm amazed. But yeah, I guess that's what these cars were kind of built for, the Subaru and the like. Very, very impressive, spectacular driving. It remains to be seen whether it's the fastest way to go through there, but certainly gets the fans roaring, cheering, I guess.
To be honest, I think it is the quickest way around. While all of that's been going on, Pashalis Angelopoulos puts in a 2:07.5, just a second down on Tobias Berstoff. But let's see what Haris Gavalis can pull out. 39.7 at the end of the third sector. Always do like seeing a Subaru Impreza out on circuit, as Haris almost does what a certain Ludovic Ferruini did. In fact, he did exactly the same thing, but he's in a less powerful car, so when he lost the rear end, it didn't fully take him into the hedge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he has actually got a little bit more horsepower, by the way, than the other. It's got over 700, and it's got the most torque of every car as well. Very, very powerful. However, a lot more agile, a lot more able to get out of those kind of situations. You're right. He's drifting everywhere, though. Just look at that at the moment. Absolutely spectacular driving. We'll have to get an onboard with him through the final runs because he's very, very good to watch. Is Haris Gavalas, but here he is into the final couple of corners. He did 2:09.9 on his first run, which would have got him into third place in the category. Where's this going to get him on this occasion? It's going to be fourth in the class with the sixth time that puts him sixth overall. And that is a 7.7 from him, so a good 2.2 seconds quicker.
Now, Vincent Tukula has just started his second run, and if I'm not mistaken, he was top of the standings in the E1 2000 cars. What should I be saying? Yeah, E1 2000, not the E1 2000 Plus.
Group H, do you mean?
Oh, Group H, yes, of course. Yes.
Group H, little lower of the E1 2000 cars without the plus, as I'll call them, because it is a little bit confusing. I actually thought it was somebody had mistyped and forgot to put the plus on, but no, they are two different classes. They should have named them a bit differently, but I'm sure Hill Climb fans are screaming at the TV for that one.
It's
for that comment.
essentially E1 2000 Plus. It's like the equivalent of an E1 2000, but with racing stripes on the car.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good analogy, to be fair. So I'll let you have that one. I'll let you off. Vincent Tukulabo top in qualifying, which gives him the first position on the road. And he is, as Alex Schumer comes over the line, by the way, right now. He is also in one of those Ford Escort Cosworths, which is tied with the heaviest car out of everybody entered onto the list here for the championship, the European Hill Climb Championship for 2021. Here is Tukulabo coming through the final few corners and up towards Farouk's hairpin, where he had a bit of a problem a little bit later on. I'm sure he loves it, absolutely, of us reminding us him every time that he made a mistake. But yeah, here it is, the left-hander.
No, I think it's
That's not the same one. Might be the next one. They are different. They are difficult to tell apart, to be fair. So
I think we've run past it, actually.
Oh yeah, we have. Yeah.
That's the start of Sector 2, if I recall correctly, and now final hairpin coming up now.
It is indeed. You're absolutely right. I'll bow down to your knowledge.
Ludovic
On this occasion,
try to make that one his hairpin as well in his final one, and we'll have to wait and see.
Delage has come over the line, by the way, at 18.2 from him, so it was actually Delage who was topping qualified, but Tukulal, look at that, 12.6 from him. He just goes in behind Philip Raab in the end, who went 2 tenths quicker than him, so a very, very interesting moment there for the Group H category. Raab came into that run 1.7 tenths down, 1.7 seconds down, excuse me. Now he's only 1.5 seconds down, so that is not an insurmountable margin going into the final runs.
The top 3 in Group H, at least in this second set of laps, seem to be pretty close to each other here. You're talking about 1.1 seconds separating all 3 of them, and that is not a lot when you're considering that 3 runs all have to be added up together. Meanwhile, we are seeing Marcus Blassel and John Spider out on track, as well as Philip Gartner in the Group H cars.
Yeah, this is the number 120 that I'm looking at the moment. Oh, somebody off the road?
No, not,
I didn't see
not
what
quite
happened.
off. It was just John Spider deciding to tap the Armco on the, midway through the Ferrari hairpin.
Oh, right, okay, this is catching a few people out at this point, it seems then. As, at the driver that I'm watching at the moment, which is John Spider. Oh, I'm watching. Why did I see that? I didn't see. I'll clearly wasn't watching hard enough.
You could see it. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Quite possibly. So, John Spider's going to come through the final few corners right now, and he's going to be there shortly, as well as Javi Rodriguez is going towards the start right now. So while we're watching these times come through for the likes of John Spider at the moment, we'll see what he can produce for us. 13.6 on his first lap. What's the second heat going to produce for him? It's a 13.5, so he improves by a tenth of a second, but not very much. Javi Rodriguez is at the start though, and we're going to go on board for a run with him and listen to this Honda Civic engine, TCR 2-litre turbocharged engine, roar up the Rechberg as well. Out of the final corner then for Javi Rodriguez of Spain. What's the time going to be as he comes over the line? 16.6 on the first run, and it is a 15.8 in the second run. Good time from him. What have Bartolini and Tachev got to say about that, though? Here is the 138 of Bartolini. The one thing that was immediately apparent to me there, though, Yusuf, was the fact that you have to be so much more gentle in a front-wheel drive car. You saw Rodriguez really feeding the car into those turns, rather than some of these guys have been very, very aggressive on the wheel.
Well, the thing that you have to remember is when you compare front-wheel drive cars to rear-wheel drive cars, because that engine is directly applying the power on the front wheels, it means that you do get a lot more understeer. And when you're with rear-wheel cars, you have the luxury of being able to slap on the power, and the back end can step out to help you turn around the corners. Whereas if you do that on the front-wheel cars, all that happens is more power goes into the front wheels, causing you to understeer more. So with front wheel drive cars, you can't be aggressive to get around the understeer. You have to just be that little bit more gentle, that little bit smoother with your steering to get it to turn in a bit nicer with your weight transfer, as opposed to with a rear wheel drive car.
I do find it a little bit counterintuitive. I have to say I enjoy rear wheel drive and all wheel drive cars a lot more than front-wheel drive cars, because I find them a little bit counterintuitive because of what you were just referring to there. But here's Bartolini in the in the last few corners, actually. As I mentioned, it's a 15.8 for Rodriguez on that attempt. Bartolini is 1.5 seconds down as he comes into the second heat, and he comes up towards the final corner right now. Let's see a bit of handbrake action here. Expect to see it because it's a... no handbrake for Bartolini. Just pure turning there from him, just with the front wheels. And now over the line it goes Bartolini. He really needs to improve on the time. Oh, and I'm afraid it's a 28.1. I think there was a mistake there that we might have missed.
Yeah, Bartolini definitely a mistake somewhere down the line. I'm just trying to see where it was. It must have been in the first sector, because his second and third sector times are fairly decent. They're not amazing, but they are decent. And going back to what you were saying, Ewan, about front versus rear wheel drive cars, I remember when I think it was when I got Forza for one of the first times. I can't remember which one. I think it was 4. And I was racing at Brands Hatch, and I was able to pick up the BTCC Honda Civic, the Yuasa Racing, the one that Matt Neal used to drive a good 10 years ago or something. And it was always great because you'd go into Paddock Hill Bend, the first corner, and the back end would step out because of how the camber was. But to get the car to stay on track, you'd actually put more power down into the front wheels, and it caused you to power slide so beautifully through the corner. It was amazing.
Yeah, so that's if you've got the kind of head in the game in that respect, and you are kind of aware of what's happening to you, then you can save it fairly easily. But yeah, it's just a bit counterintuitive to me anyway.
Oh, yeah, sure.
As we're coming up towards these final few runs, by the way, David Tachev did a 17.6, was 4 tenths down on what he did before, and 1.6 seconds down on Rodriguez, which now puts him 2.2 seconds down going into the final run. So it's still close in E1 2000. Despite Bartolini being a good 10 seconds down now. But before those final runs come in, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we return, we will see these cars on the Rechberg for the final time.
The Rechberg Rennen Grosser Bergkreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patreon, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radio.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planning to make your racing carbon neutral, we already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the GTR 24H broadcast of the European Hill Climb Championship for 2021. This is the second round and we're in Austria on the Rechberg. My name is Jonas. I'm alongside Yusuf bin Sahel for the broadcast here today. And we've got the final few runs of the second run to bring to you. Leo Huart gets himself into 22nd overall with an 18.2. I'm afraid he's been a little bit off the pace here today, considering the fact he got 5th place last time on the Col Saint-Pierre, but still not bad from him, as I believe that we have finished all of the times now, and that is the end of the second run, because I'm afraid, as we just saw as we went to break there, Ivan Morrow in the Renault Clio number 86 is Renault Clio RS2000. Almost looks like a Renault Clio Cup car with its small 2-litre engine and 300 horsepower. I'm afraid lost a rear wheel, and even though that is a front-wheel drive car, you can still drive. It is difficult, and I'm afraid he is out of the event.
Yeah, we also saw some, I guess, late drama for Pascalis or Pascalis Angelopoulos as heading into the final hairpin and the run to the finish line. I think he had one of the Honda Civics in front of him, and it cost him about a second, maybe even 1.5 to 2 seconds going through that final corner and on the run all the way up. So, well, if Angelopoulos is 1 or 2 seconds off someone at the end, he is going to be a little bit upset.
Quite possibly, yes. You could be right about that one. We're currently just getting ready for our final runs of the day here. I'm trying to find Ludovic Ferret so we go on board with him as we normally do. We'll just do that in a second, and we'll get to see Ferret's lap, and we'll probably go quiet for it as well to get the real sounds of the Acela. But a disappointing second run for him there. Winner last time out on the Col Saint-Pierre, and unless he gains a staggering amount of time, we make it to be about 20 seconds, then we believe that Ferret is going to come third here, and if Sebastian Ronat takes the victory, he's also going to take the championship lead here, so a very important run coming up for these guys.
The thing to remember is, that 20 seconds that Ludovic Ferret has to find, that's not over Sebastian Ronat. Over Sebastian Ronat, he needs to be finding about 35 seconds. It's only to Francois Carati that he needs to find 25 seconds, which is possible if Carati does make a mistake, and if Ferret can land himself that P2 spot, then he'll find himself tied with Sebastian Ronat coming out of the second round of the championship. Otherwise, as you mentioned, Ronat will be leading the championship outright.
Makes the sharp left-hand turn out of his garage and or out of his tent and onto the little access road towards the start. We're going to go quiet as we watch the current championship leader, last 2 weeks, the winner from 2 weeks ago, but up against it right now. Ludovic Ferret on the Rechberg for the final time. He does need a big mistake now from Karate to kind of interrupting our own onboard hill climb there, but a bit of a mistake from Karate, very uncharacteristic from him.
And again, it's in that middle sector as well, and usually us commentators, we put the curses by saying stuff, but maybe with a little bit, it's our lack of saying things that seems to affect us. Maybe to give an equal curse to everyone, just everyone in the class, we have to say nothing over their laps.
It'd be difficult to see everybody and curse everybody equally, but here comes over the line.
Bad lap, to be fair.
1 minute 50.8, that is not bad, to be fair, you're right. Sebastian Ronard comes over the line right now, and without any errors, oh, it's close, just about gets it turned. Without any errors, he is going to take the hill climb here. Over the line he goes. It's a 50.7, so not his best lap time either, but unless Karate can do something quite astonishing right now, then he is not going to change any positions here. It looks like it's going to be second place for Karate on his first appearance here in the European Hill Climb Championship this year. Let's take a look at what it actually is going to be, yeah. If he loses, if it's a 2 minute 10 or worse, then we might have to start doing the maths on this one, but we can be pretty sure where these guys are going to finish without any big miracles.
Karate, the 70-year-old, very impressive to see him still out racing. He used to do a lot of real-life hill climbing events, if I'm not mistaken, back in his youth. But here in his old age, or well, I don't know, maybe he's still feeling young either way. Doing a decent job so far as he makes his way into the final hairpin. I think he's pretty much got this, especially with Ferry losing 2 seconds in, well, maybe even 3 seconds in the final sector over Ronat. And for Karate, 58.5, only 8 seconds down, which means that he will take P2 in the event.
He will indeed. Now let's go to E1 plus 2000, because this is very, very close between Tobias Basherdorf and Agius Andre. These guys have been fighting absolutely very, very close to each other throughout this event here. Andre gained 1/10 in the first run. He gained 4 tenths in the second, so you can do the maths. Basherdorf needs to beat him by half a second as he comes over the line right now. Has he done everything that he possibly can? It's a 2 minute 6.1. It is his best attempt of the day so far. Can Andre do a 2 minute 6.6? If it's better than a 2 minute 6.6, then he's going to win the hill climb.
Yeah, and Agius Andre gained 1.5 seconds over Tobias Basherdorf in the middle sector alone, but this final sector from Agius does not seem clean. He's just been looking a little bit on edge, and it's not the fast on edge, it's the, oh no, I'm about to spin on edge as he makes his way into the final hairpin. No handbrake, just slows it down with the foot brake alone, and now the run up to the line.
What is the time going to be for Agius Andre? Is it enough? It needs to be a 2 minute 6.6, and it's easily that. It's a 2 minute 6.2. He wins it again by 1.4 seconds in the end. Agius Andre now beats out Tobias Basherdorf after losing out to him by just a very, very small margin last time out. Basherdorf did a fantastic job to beat him right at the very death last time out, but it's going to be Agius Andre's here today, and it looks like they're going to be tied in the championship 1 and 2. I want to go on board though with Haris Gavalas. He's not on the course just yet, and these guys in the E1 plus 2000 class are kind of battling for positions a little bit behind those two who are in front of everybody else at the moment. But yeah, I'm just waiting to find Gavalas here, and we'll go quiet for an onboard lap from him because he's absolutely spectacular in that Subaru Impreza, and we'll get to him when we get to him in a few moments' time when he gets up to the starting ramp. But fantastic drive from Agius Andre here today. A good bounce back as well from the Col Saint-Pierre where he was beaten 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, good bounce back, and now we're seeing Philotheos Agurio out on circuit. Same for George Malice and Paschalis Angelopoulos, pardon me. As he makes his way down into the final hairpin, does Philotheos. And we know he put in a decent time earlier on today. Let's see what this is though. 209.9, not the quickest time. And we'll have to see how everyone else does and where he feeds in at the end of the laps.
We will indeed. That's about 8 tenths worse off than what he's done in the second run, which was his best of the day. But let's not forget, they all count here today, as Gavalas is now going up towards the start. So we're going to cut away from that lap, and we're going to go on board with Gavalas right now because he is absolutely spectacular. Let's go in the inside of the cockpit with him and take lets him take us for a wild ride. It's absolutely spectacular. So let's hear it and let's see it. Gavalas out on the course, and yeah, just get on the edge of your seat because this is going to be absolutely spectacular. Oh dear. Gavalas off, I'm afraid. The commentator's curse has struck again, and we're going to have to cut away very quickly because we do indeed have the Group H frontrunners coming up towards the line right now. Currently, Vincent Tukula is leading this just about ahead of Philippe Raab and John Spider, who's not too far behind in third at the moment. Tukula gained 1.7 seconds in the first run, but he lost a couple of tenths in the second, so he's now 1.5 down. He locks up coming into Farouk's corner, and now the pressure really is on this is Raab, by the way, who we're watching, or who I'm watching. Tukula a little bit further down the order, but yeah, a shame to see Gavalas have a spin there, Yusuf. I was really enjoying that on board, to be honest. It's the commentator's curse again, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, it looked to be going alright. He had a bit of a moment earlier on in the lap round where he took down a couple of the cones with him, but aside from that, it all looked pretty tidy for Gavalas. 46.9 in the middle sector, which pretty much matches what, you know, all of the quick guys were doing in the Lancer Evos. But now it's all about the Group H class. Philippe Raab into the final hairpin, down into first gear, full lock, back on power, no handbrake, and up the gears in the Opel Kadett.
What's the time going to be for Philippe Raab, who came second 2 weeks ago? It is 10th place overall and a 13.1, not his best time of the day. So it needs to be a 14.6 or better from Tukula if he wants to take the hill climb here on the Rechberg. The number 33 car currently out there at the moment, the Opel GTE Psycho, an absolute brilliant car just to look at. Look at all these crazy body parts and add-ons and things like that. Absolutely crazy to look at and to even conceive that this can go quickly up a hill climb, but it can. Julien Delage goes into 11th overall, by the way, a 14.2 for the winner on the Col Saint-Pierre on home turf in France 2 weeks ago. It's not been the greatest hill climb from him today, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but what can Tukula pull out? 41.3 in the first sector, 48.2 in the second. Meanwhile, Philippe Raab 48.0 in that middle sector. So Tukula has lost 2 tenths in the middle sector, and now on the run up to the finish line. Will this be enough?
Let's see, it needs to be a 14.6 or better. What's the time going to be? It's a 2 minute 12.8, and that is more than enough for Vincent Tukula to take the victory here on the Rechberg in Austria. John Spider is the only one who can really get into the mix here. He was third coming in here, lost 1.7 seconds in the first run, lost another 9 tenths in the last, so he's 2.8 down at the moment. He needs better than a 2 minute 10 at the moment, which would be better than Chris Bennett in his smaller Formula car. He's pushing hard though. Look at this from John Spider, very, very close to the barriers indeed.
John Spider is giving it absolutely everything as he winds his way up the Austrian hill in his Fiat X19 Proto. And now just the final hairpin. Let's see how hard he sends it.
Let's see indeed. Alfa Romeo 2-litre engine kicks out of the sharp left turn. It gets on that grass verge on the right-hand side there and comes up towards the line now. What's the time going to be for Spider? It's a 14.4. He's lost another 1.6 seconds, I'm afraid. So it's going to be third place in Group H for John Spider.
Could he possibly even lose that third spot because Philip Gartner is out on a lap, so is Marcus Blassel. And maybe if they could get a good lap together, they could.
We're hearing Blassel's off. We're hearing Blassel's off. The number 65 is back on again. Didn't see what happened, but not what you want. He's already down, I believe, roughly 6th position for him at the moment in Group H. Maybe a little bit worse than that, but yeah, Blassel certainly not being hurt. And you can see that car looks a little bit injured. He's not pushing that as much as he was before.
We would have to see what it's looking like. 70.5 middle sector. Well, that is not a healthy middle sector time at all for Blassel. And that's about 20 seconds down on where he wants to be. Gartner just puts in a 49.6. So there you can see 21 seconds the difference between the pair of them in the middle sector.
Yeah, that is a big difference as the E1 2000 cars now go out onto the hill climb at the moment. Javi Rodriguez is out there at the moment. Can't find Bartolini. Oh, sorry, this is a little bit further down the order at the moment. I think he might have reconnected. I don't think he's supposed to do that. Anyway, Rodriguez at the moment is in the lead with Tashev in second place. 6 tenths lost in the first run, 1.8 lost in the second. So he's 2.4 seconds in the lead. Is Javi Rodriguez at the moment. But let's not forget, these guys were 2 and 3 before. Bartolini won last round's event. But now he's over 10 seconds down, which is going to be a little bit disappointing for him in that Peugeot, which is a very spectacular car. I have to say, a great looking car. I do enjoy watching that car.
And we saw Bartolini looking a little bit suspicious, really, in qualifying. A lot of offs for him, and maybe he's just not really feeling comfortable here in Austria, whether that's a setup issue or whether that's the track itself, maybe just doesn't suit his driving style. Either way, Bartolini not feeling comfortable in Austria, and hopefully he can get whatever issues he has sorted in time for round 3, and hopefully he can still manage to, at least a third place in the class. Otherwise, if he falls any lower down, it could really hurt his championship chances.
He could. I'm not entirely sure if there are any more that can overtake him at this point, but here is Javi Rodriguez coming towards the final corner. Spanish driver, of course, driving the Honda Civic DCR, 350 horsepower, 1,200 kilograms, fairly heavy, and front wheel drive as well. You can see him using the handbrake there just to kick the car around. What's the time going to be for Javi Rodriguez? Over the line he goes. And it's a 17.6. It's his slowest of the day, but it's tied with Tashev's second fastest of the day from the 2 runs we've seen so far. So, it's the 3-2-1 is off the road there, getting back onto it. Who is that? Let's have a look. Nikos Sakinos.
Yeah, Nikos Sakinos in the BMW, the 2002 BMW model. And that's right at the start as well. Has he done that through the makeshift chicane? You know what? I'm going to go into a quick replay
if I can
find it.
You're right, he has. He has indeed. So, Tashev, by the way, has come through. He was 3 tenths up. He did gain 3 tenths. So, after being 2.4 down, he has gained 3 tenths of a second. But Rodriguez looks like he's going to win the E1 2000 class by just over 2 seconds in the end. A good drive from him. And so, he's made his way through. And it made his way through successfully.
Bartolini's on a lap. Let's see what he can pull out, because the first couple of sectors, 43.5, 51.2. He's lost another 5 seconds, I think, in that middle sector.
Oh dear.
Maybe just 2 or 3. Either way, he's not a particularly quick lap before the Italian.
Let's have a look at it as it comes towards the line right now. The Peugeot, what is the time going to be? Tashev is currently leading the E1 2000 class for run 3, and it's not a bad time for Bartolini. It's a 19.5, but I'm afraid it's not enough. He's going to be third today, and he's going to be losing his championship lead.
Not good for Bartolini. Let's see what it is across the line as he makes his way out of the final corner. And Bartolini 2:19.5, as you mentioned. And who else is on a lap? I think Nick Kotsakidis is not a too bad lap, to be honest.
Yeah, he could well be. I'm watching Frank Dupart at the moment in the Mitsubishi, I think it's a Mitsubishi, the 277. It is indeed. 2-litre turbocharged engine, over 600 horsepower and 1,150 kilograms for this
that's a
car.
moment for Kostakidis. He's run wide, spun it round,
Yeah.
and now he's having to three-point turn it with some aggressive banging on the arm curb barrier.
He's in the Volkswagen Corrado, by the way, which is which is the same as Bulgarian David Tachev driving. But yeah, not good for Koksigis as over the line coming at one of the cars. I didn't quite see who that was actually, but certainly an improvement for somebody. A wild improvement, a big improvement. But here we are at the bottom end of the order. We're seeing a couple of the runners we haven't seen. So always kissing the wall there was Frank Dupart. We're seeing a few of these guys who we haven't seen before though, because we've been away at advert breaks previously. Oh dear. We're hearing the 3-2-1 has been off, by the way. Once again, we saw him go through off at the chicane, but yeah, it just seems to it's not been his day. It is
2:24.3, second in the class for this set of runs.
That is a good time. Yeah, let's have a look. To where he, blimey, yeah, he's right up there, isn't he? At the moment. Well, I can't find him.
He
no, I can.
currently. Okay.
Found him.
Yeah.
19th overall. There we go. Found him. So yeah, not a bad time at all. The Volkswagen Corrado, by the way, coming towards the line of Nick Koksidis. What's the time for him going to be? We know he had some issues though. Of 2:44.9. Not Koksidis' day either. Let's go for one final on board then, because we've just caught the Ford WRC of I've started this. Who is this? Yeah, we're going to go for that. I'm glad you attempted that and not me. Here we go for a final on board then. We're going to go quiet, enjoy the sounds of this wonderful 2-litre turbocharged engine, enjoy the sounds of 600 horsepower. This is the Rechberg on board with the Ford Escort WRC. Bit of a hit on the wall, but the final corner is negotiated fair enough and very well indeed by the Ford Focus RC, and over the line it goes. Right now jumps quite a fair way up the order actually. Let's see, 6th place, that's a fantastic time right at the very end, 9.5, and yeah, he might well be very much up there in the overall standings, but unfortunately I haven't been keeping too close of an eye on him because well, he didn't do very well in qualifying, so I didn't keep an eye. But here's the final corner for Leo Watt. And here's the final drive out there at the moment. Not quite reaching the heights that he did last time out. P5 in the Group H category. Not quite able to do that again. Vincent Tukula have got the best time so far in the final run. What is the time for Leo Watt? I'm afraid it's only 26th overall, a 34.9. Not the day that he would have wanted, but there we are. That was the final run, and so we're going to do a bit of maths in this next ad break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you some very, very provisional results before we leave you tonight. You're watching the European Hill Climb Championship, round number 2 here in 2021, and we'll have some provisional results when you come back.
The Rechberg Rennen Grosser Bergkreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor, or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back to reaction from the European Hill Climb Championships second round on the Rechberg here in Austria. We've had 3 runs of our 5 kilometre test here today, gaining 268 metres over the 5 kilometres, finishing at nearly 1,000 metres. Very historic course as well, which has brung eight wins for the Arcella in the past, and it is another one for Sebastian Runnat in the overall category and in the E2 class. He has run out victorious ahead of Francois Karate in second place and Ludovic Ferrut. A bit of a surprising result there, Yusuf. We saw Ferrut was best in qualifying, best in the Col Saint-Pierre event as well. He was getting a run for his money by Runnat, certainly. It would have been a great fight between the two of them. However, that mistake in the second run cost him 50 seconds nearly, 45 seconds, and that's just too much to be making up at an event that is so competitive.
Yeah, it was such a big mistake, and because of that mistake, he pushed even more in the third run, and another mistake came through, so... You know, I guess some of the experience coming through from Runnat, and a good job from him. He's now top of the championship, and all of a sudden, just more pressure going on to Ferrari, who, you know, arguably, I think most people would agree, was the quicker driver in terms of raw pace, but just doesn't have the consistency. And, you know, we talked about it at the start of the show, at the top of the show. Every single run counts tonight. Last week, it was just the best 2 runs. This week, all 3 runs count, and Ferrari crumbled under the pressure.
He did indeed, as you rightly say. Runnat now has a 3-point championship lead over Ferrut, who's in second. Karate gets himself into third in the championship, ahead of Mark Best, who DNF'd today, I'm afraid, so he's still on 15 points. Karate moves in front of him with 18. Let's go to the E1 plus 2,000 category, because that was the closest of any class out there on the course here today. Won by 1.4 seconds in the end by Agius Andre and Tobias Brashidov. What a great fight between those two. I mean, to be so close after 3 runs through such a difficult course up the Rechberg today. Fantastic to watch, and full respect to both of them, but Andre just about able to win out in the end.
Yeah, good stuff from Andre, able to take the top spot in the end, but so many drivers were putting in some really quick laps, some entertaining laps as well. I know I was keeping a particular eye out on Angelopoulos, yes, there we go, Angelopoulos and Philothios Argurio, both of them doing well, the Greek and the Hungarian. So excited to see what they can be bringing next or in 2 weeks' time, and whether they can challenge Agios Andre for the top spot.
They are now level on the championship, by the way, Agius Andre and Tobias Brashidov, because they've both come first and second now, so they're absolutely dead even after 2 rounds. George Mallis gets his third place in 2 rounds. He's on 30 points, 13 points adrift right now, and Angelo Poulos, as you say, got 4th in the end, we believe, anyway, with Philotheos Agiru in 5th this time, as opposed to his 4th that he managed to get last time out. So yeah, championship shaping up very, very nicely. It's a rivalry that we expect to continue between Andre and Brashidov. Hopefully George Mallis can get involved there as well.
Yeah, hopefully he can be joining into that battle. And honestly, we saw a lot of really entertaining battles in Group H. I mean, I still feel a little bit bad, though, for Chris Bennett, because he's all on his own in that Formula car. Although, it must be good fun racing that Formula car up the hills of Austria. But hopefully we do get to see someone at some point give him at least some competition.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be nice. But for the moment, he's kind of racing against himself and racing for an overall position, and racing for kind of against Pride. The E1 plus 2. Yeah, Pride, and also kind of against the E1 plus 2,000 cars. He's kind of comparable. So he can have that to look forward to in a couple of weeks. In Group H, which is my favourite class, I have to say, absolutely dominated by Vincent Tucula of France on this occasion. Don't believe he was here on the first race, or was he? It might have been. Looking through the results right now, I can't see him, so I don't think he did participate in the first race of the season. a couple of weeks ago, but he managed to score a victory here today ahead of Philip Raab, who was about 2 or 3 seconds behind him in the end. John Spider managed to get third place, Gardner in fourth ahead of Delage, and that was a very close battle, by the way. Delage was only 3 tenths behind Philip Gardner by the end of the day, so that's 2 points that Julien Delage really could have done with. Dominant display from Tukulan this time around, though, and it remains to be seen what he can do for the rest of the year, but no, to come into the series around late, I think it's a very, very good performance to hit the ground running so well.
Yeah, I was also quite impressed with John Spider putting in some good laps. The only driver in the Fiat X19, you've got Iosu Legarreta, who's in the Fiat 131 Abarth, but still different forms of Fiat. So John Spider doing a decent job in the Italian car, and well, we'll see if he can kind of close the gap to Philip Raab, because I don't know, I just had a feeling that, you know, maybe he could pull something special out, but sadly that was not tonight.
Delage is now in the it has now been demoted out of the championship lead by just 1 point behind Philip Raab, who's got 2 second places right now. John Spider with 2 thirds puts himself only 6 points adrift, so to have 3 cars separated by 6 points after 2 rounds, that's a very, very exciting prospect for us to look forward to over the coming weeks. I know it's only after 2 rounds, but topsy-turvy category, certainly, that's why it's my favourite, basically.
Well, to be honest, it's starting to get close in all categories. I mean, you could even say that the E2 3000 class is possibly the closest, because Ferroit's down in third place or second place in the championship, and he probably has a raw pace. So I think every single class is pretty exciting, really, heading on into the rest of the championship, and hopefully it can stay that way for the majority of the season.
Yeah, certainly no exceptions with the E1 2000 class either. That is exactly the same as you were mentioning. Bartolini came into the day championship leader, but I'm afraid he came third today. It was Javi Rodriguez who managed to take the victory. Despite losing 3 temps in the end, his victory was just under 2 seconds. A good victory from him, and clearly very well versed at driving that Honda. You were talking about how to drive a front-wheel drive car and how you've got to feed the car in, how you've got to be so precise, and he was doing exactly what you were saying. He was being precise, he was being patient on the power, and it was a great drive from him. From what we saw anyway, the onboards were fantastic from his car.
Yeah, I know you really enjoyed those onboards, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't. They were pretty entertaining, but for me, watching the E2 3000s was just... It was mind-blowing, to be honest. It honestly reminded me somewhat of having seen some of the old videos of the Group B rally cars, and honestly, it just looked absolutely insane for me.
It was absolutely insane, you're right. Just to round up, by the way, at the E1 2000 category, Rodriguez is now championship leader as well by 10 points ahead of David Tachev, who moves himself up into second, and the leader coming into today, Leonardo Bartolini, is now in third place of that championship, although only 13 points behind, so we'll see what can happen in the future in that championship. That's it, though, for the Rechberg. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Yusuf Bintaher. One final word from you, Yusuf. First hill climb event that you've commentated on, maybe watched as well, I don't know. How have you found it? How have you found the atmosphere of the event, the kind of different format that we have? It's very unique, but I certainly enjoy it. How have you found it?
Yeah, unique for me. It's first time seeing this, commentating on it, so a different experience entirely, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. A little bit sad, and I kind of knew I would be sad that, you know, you've got 2 cars on the track at the same time, so you don't get to watch each one doing a full lap, but, you know, if we did that, we'd be here for quite a long time waiting. Yes, well, yeah, would literally be, it'd be an all-week thing, all fortnight thing until the next round starts, and then, you know, we go again. So it's a good thing that we do have multiple cars on track, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very, very enjoyable indeed. Thanks very much to everybody who's tuned in tonight, and thanks to everybody who's been joining us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, though, with round 3 of the European Hill Climb Championship. We go to Portugal and the Rampa de Boticas, where, well, I don't know where it is, but it is in Portugal. And, we'll see what these guys can do from there. Very much looking forward to enjoying your company once again. Thanks very much to everybody who's tuned in. You've been watching the second round of the European Hill Climb Championship for 2021, and until the next round in a couple of weeks, we'll say goodbye for now.
Rechberg Rennen Grosserberg Kreuz von Österreich is presented in partnership with Viper Gaming by Patriot, Leap Gaming, ESTV, and AMD Ryzen Radeon.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, I'm available all day.